Hello and welcome to Clownfish-Games.
I'm Sarah Kate.
And I'm Stuart.
And today we are coming at you to talk about Star Wars The Mandalorian Adventures.
This is a 1 to 4 player game from Unexpected Games by Corey Konecka and Josh Beppler.
So let's open it and see what we get.
So we have set up the board for the first scenario. The icons on the back, the instructions in the game will tell you the first scenario, the number ones, squares match the squares, circles match the circles, and triangles match the triangles. Anything with a question mark means it stays face down, without means it goes face up. These are our starting enemies.
So these are like our objectives. We've got the characters. The first one is the Mandalorian, which is that character. And then IG-11, which is that character. And then the objective is to capture the asset. That is the asset. And that will be on a token on the map. So a character is in the asset space found on a triangle threat at the end of any player's turn. And then the failure, if we do fail, it will be a character is defeated.
So how do we play this game? So we have our character, we start on the novice side, so we have plenty of health to stop us from being defeated straight away. We've got IG-11, and then the game is played using these action cards down here. They all are numbered between 1 and 4, and we have a hand of 4. Because it's mostly co-op, we're going to play open-handed to start with. So, like I say, the numbers are between 1 and 4. Can you see these little icons here? These are going to refer to the actions on the board, which we'll go through. So the numbers represent how much of an action you can do. So if I was to play this number 1 in the move slot, we'd move IG-11 1 space. There we go. If we was to play the number 1 in the attack slot, we would attack something and do 1 point of damage to something within range. Range is typically within 1 space, unless a card tells you otherwise. They're going to move to Intel. Intel is to secretly look at a face-down threat, so any token on the board is considered a threat. Consider it within range, or choose an enemy within range and move it 1 space, whether towards you or away from you. That's entirely your choice. The fourth one is the planning action. We have this little planning deck. Draw a number of planning cards equal to the number we played. We can keep 1 and place 1. We may place 1 on the top and discard any excess. So we have these little planning cards, which are like little buffs on here. But this particular card that we've used here for the planning has this blue icon, which matches. So this we can actually plan for 2. All the others are a value of 1 in this case. So we turn over the top 2. We've got a defend, which blocks the damage, and we've got a bad luck. There are some cards in the deck that do absolutely nothing. So it's always often better to do it with more than 1.
Right, now on to Mando's hand. 4 cards from the deck, and I'm going to talk you through some of these cards. So with this sneak attack, I could put this into the move slot, just like that, and it's a value of 2, so I can move 2. If I was here, let's say, I could move 2 into this enemy space, and because it's got that icon, which is the same as that icon, I can use this ability, which is deal 2 damage to an enemy in your space. Use this before resolving enemy abilities.
Some enemies will have abilities. In the very first scenario, we have sentries, which is this icon on here. If you end your movement next to them, they will do you 1 damage.
So because I landed on a space with an enemy, I can shoot him for 2. So he gets defeated.
He's gone.
And comes off the board.
So there are 3 steps to follow in a turn. The action step, you must perform 2 actions, limit 1 skill card per action slot per turn, so you can only put 1 out. So we'd put 1 up there, for example, resolve that, and then put 1 up there, for example. We then go to the event step. For each action slot, we're going to check the total strength. So we're just going to go back up here and we're just going to create a scenario of numbers. You might want to edit some of this out. Right, so we might have this game situation when we're resolving the event step. If the total is 6 or more, we resolve a crisis. This first slot, the numbers here add up to 4, but at the beginning of the game we add these disrupt tokens, which is going to give us a total of 5. So we check that, that's not 6. We're going to move across to the intel slot. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is obviously more than 6. So we're going to resolve a crisis. The crisis is we're going to put one of those tokens onto there, place 1 damage token here. When there are 3, remove them and spawn an enemy reinforcement, which are these orange tokens.
Yep.
And we're going to spawn it in the fewest space with the fewest enemies, depending on the game situation.
Right, now we are checking whether these columns are 5 or more. So these little numbers here, so 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so that is 5 or more. This one is, as we said before, 9, so that is also 5 or more. So let's just go back to this one. We have to turn over an event deck. So let's turn that first one over. So the first card that we have turned over, we have to look for the symbols on the enemies on the board and choose which one to move however many spaces. So for this symbol, let's move that 3 spaces towards the nearest hero.
So 1, 2 is the closest there.
And then for this symbol, we have to move it 2.
1, 2 into that space.
And then for this symbol, we move it 1.
So this enemy here is on raised terrain. He can't just move into this space. He's got to go climb down the ladder to get down. So we're going to select him to go closest, but he's got to go that way first.
And now we're going to resolve the second one. So let's turn over another one. So then, okay, so this is all of that symbol moves 2 to the nearest enemy.
This one is already at an enemy's one of our spaces, so that's okay. This one again is at raised terrain, so he's going to go 1, 2 off the ladder, and that is it at the minute.
And then this one, 2 of these, is that shoot at a range of 0?
If they can attack at a range of 0.
So would that be this one?
Yeah.
So he will damage the Mandalorian.
Stick a damage on there. We only ever take 1 damage at a time.
And we've got 8 damage.
So we resolve crisis and events where appropriate. The next bit to check is 4 or less, nothing happens. So planning is only at 2 and moving is only at 1. We then go to the draw step, refill your hand so you've got 4 cards. If you want to make it more difficult, only have 3. Then in the small print at the bottom, discard all cards and tokens from the action slot. If an event card has no effect, spawn 1 reinforcement in the nearest space. So this is an asterisk where it applies to when we resolved events and crisis. Because these 2 resolved, the cards are discarded back to their players, and the first time we resolve it, these numbers come off as well, and it frees the numbers up for future turns.
So with our objective, there is a map rule for this certain map. We have to gain access to the bunker, which is this building right here. You see this? It's a locked door. The asset is one of these tokens. We don't know which one, but to gain access to that, we have to find 2 of these door control features, which will be one of these rounded tokens. And once we get 2, it will unlock the door and we will be able to go in there and look for the asset that we are trying to get, which is our objective.
So to be able to find these door controls, we need to find a way of looking at these tokens that are face down here. We can do this with the intel action, by looking at something within range. We secretly look at it. That's one of the tokens, but it says secret. Although it's a co-op, you can share that information, but it needs to go face down again, because some of them are enemies, and once they're face up, they then start activating around the board in the event phase. The other way of uncovering them is simply just moving onto them and landing in that space. You end your movement in that space because there is a threat token there, and you pop one of the tokens up there to say we've found one of the door controls in this case.
Right, I'm going to flip through the book now just to give you an idea about like what it looks like. So this is obviously the first scenario, and then you get like a little comic book. You can read through this, it's quite cool. The pictures are great. This is scenario 2. I've never played this yet, but that looks really, really cool. And then a more comic book.
We won't show any more at this point though, because you've got to discover it for yourself as you play the game.
Oh.
Because some of the game unlocks as you go.
Ah. But yeah, pretty pictures, and hopefully it's a story. But yeah, amazing.
If I can also show you that there are as many as 8 different characters to use in the game. Some of the scenarios will specify certain characters, but obviously if you're playing with more players, it gives you a bit of flexibility. The game is quite sandboxy, so you can sort of pick and choose little things to create your own scenarios at times, recreate things, and it gives it that replayability. Once you've completed the deck and you've got everything unlocked, I believe there are 24 different playable scenarios that you can play with this game. And so you could replay it, instead of Mando and IG, you could use Paz Vizsla and Migs Mayfield, or you could use Grief Karga and Berg, you know, some of these other characters that appeared throughout The Mandalorian Season 1. So we've given you a brief overview of how the game works. Just to give you an idea of some of the other things that we're going to come across into the game, we have this extra deck of cards, which works similar to a legacy deck, where it tells us to stop and give us instructions at certain points, and it unlocks more content to the game. This could be new cards for your characters, new events, new instructions for each map. The game also contains some envelopes that instruct you to open them at certain points. This is more content as we progress through the game. So what did you think of it?
So I liked the aspect of how it immerses you into the season 1 of The Mandalorian on Disney+. The characters play as how they act in that series. It's a great co-op, quick and easy, simple rules. It's great. What did you think?
I really enjoyed it too. I was lucky enough to be able to do demonstrations at UK Games Expo, and I got to do it alongside Josh Bettler, one of the co-designers. Really enjoyed the game. Like you say, the characters do play as they act, so IG-11, he does do a lot of damage, but he does damage to himself to do these things. Grief Karga tends to do a lot of support role sort of things, where he's learning and giving out intel, things like that. It was great, I really enjoyed it.
And that concludes our video about the Star Wars The Mandalorian adventures. It is now in stock at Clownfish-Games.
I hope you enjoyed our video. We'll add the links in the description. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because we're going to try and do a few extra videos here and there, and we're going to learn and try and improve as we go along. I hope you enjoyed watching. Bye!
Until next time, bye!